Hi, Coach Gary. And I don't like to dwell or talk about the past or history of the JWs or even their present or even their future. I don't really care. And I don't think it's particularly healthy to dwell on it. Maybe for some people is a little bit different for whatever reason, but that's the way I feel. And I really feel that for most people, it's probably best to not dwell on. But sometimes the history does inform the present. We can learn lessons from it that are actually important to learn, especially if we're troubled about something about the present or our perceived future. And so I want to talk about one particular instance of that that has to do with the JWs. And it's really because I'm just bored out of my mind. I just was thinking about this the other day because I'm home convalescing from minor surgery, doing really well, but I'm just going stir crazy looking at the walls. So I'm making music, I'm making videos, and I'll probably publish this a week or two after the fact. But there you go. So what I wanted to talk about is has to do with some of the recent changes that I know it's getting old news now. It's like a couple months old, but it's again is on my mind and it still bothers some people. I'm not talking about beards and I don't know women can wear slacks and I don't know ties and all this nonsense, whatever. It's mainly the changes, so-called changes about the shunning arrangement, and it is an arrangement. Um, and they were very, very minor to the point where it's almost not different at all. But some people get kind of, either excited about it, like hopeful about it, or upset about it for various reasons, and which I understand. It's all understandable reactions. But if you think about the history of it, I think it should tell us something about the present and the future. So historically, I mean, since I've been in the organization, which was the mid 70s, the disfellowshipping arrangement was definitely something that was in place. I don't know when they came out with the disassociation thing, but it was probably already in place as well. But it's always been since then that there are two ways to get yourself permanently kicked out of the organization. And I mean like absolute shunning. I don't mean like people aren't talking to me because I have doubts or because I ask questions or a marking talk was given, and I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about official shunning because you're disfellowshipped or you disassociated yourself. The main difference between those two is that being disfellowshipped is an action that they take, even though they'll say that you got yourself disfellowshipped and you wanted to be disfellowshipped because of your behavior and your attitude toward it. It's clearly their decision. They made the decision, put together a committee, and disfellowshipped you. An announcement was made, and it becomes official. So that's disfellowshipping, and then you have disassociation, which you do. You write a letter, what have you, and the same amount of announcement is made nowadays that you're no longer a JW, and everybody takes that to mean that you're not to be associated with anymore. They don't even have to know the reason. So disfellowship or disassociation, you did it, or I'm sorry, they did it, you did it. In other words, they took the action or you took the action. A big change happened, and I don't remember when this was. Some of you might remember. It was during the time I was in. I'm almost certain because I came in the mid '70s. Um, there, that if you joined the military or a political organization or ran for political office, and let's say you became, chief executive officer of your country or your state or province or what have you, well, how do you disfellowship somebody for that, really, and get away with it, right? Because now you're dealing with the government. In other words, the JWs would be dealing with the government. They're basically saying that we took this guy that joined the army and we said that you can't do that, and you're going to be disfellowshipped, or you've aligned yourself with a political party. You've run for office. You're now the governor of your state. You're well. We're going to disfellowship you. Imagine the hot water that the Watchtower would be in if they were still doing that kind of stuff. So they changed it. They changed it to if you do any of those things, you're disassociating yourself. Hmm, what a big difference, right? So basically, they get away with treating you as an ostracized person, as a pariah, because you made the decision to disassociate yourself by your actions. Big difference between anything else, anything that gets you disfellowshipped or disassociating yourself. Now all of a sudden you can disassociate yourself by your actions. Brand new concept, right? And why was it? It was reactive. It was completely reactive. It was just because it had nothing to do with Like what scriptural, discussion ever took place about that? Nothing. It's just the procedural rule that they put into place. So it was completely reactive to the reality that they're going to be in a lot of hot water. The JWs, that is going to be in a lot of hot water if they continue to disfellowship people that have joined the army or a political party. So think about that when you think about the recent changes to the arrangement where you can now talk to somebody to invite them to the memorial, let's say, or if you see them at the Kingdom Hall, you can say hello, greet them warmly, say glad to see you, hope you come back. And we thought, oh wow, that's a big. Well, it's not really a big change. It's nothing. And what was the reason for it? Was there any big scriptural discussion about it? I mean, I don't know. I don't read. I don't go to jdw.org, and I don't talk to any Jehovah's Witnesses. But my sense is that there was never a scriptural discussion about it. It was just a procedural change, a new rule that they made up to react to the reality. What's the reality? Well, the fact is that there have been successful actions taken against the JW organization in a couple of European countries now that are based on human rights violations. It's being treated as a human rights issue now, the whole concept of shunning. What the JWs do is that they use weasel words to get around things. Now, the definition of weasel, I mean, apart from the animal weasel, this is just kind of interesting. Um, it's a person regarded as sneaky or treacherous. And as a verb, weasel means to be evasive, to back out of a situation or commitment in a sneaky or cowardly manner. And that is precisely what the brass of the JWs of the Watchtower do, is that they in court, in front of government officials and high courts, they use weasel words to say, "Oh no, we don't shun. No, we don't do that. We welcome people, and we when they come to our meetings, we welcome them with open arms." And well, now they can say that because they have this new way of dealing with it that's almost not different from the old way. It just gives you a little bit of an exception, tiny, tiny bit of an exception. So it's a knee-jerk reaction to the reality of their legal problems all around the world. Don't see it as anything else but that. Just see it completely as weasel words that are a way of getting around political and judicial pressure around the world. So anytime they make future changes, just always look at it that way. Don't worry about it. But if you do happen to hear about it and you wonder why, just realize that it's probably just weasel word. It's just a way of sneaking around something to evade an uncomfortable and even legal situation. Beware weasel words.